Welcome back to the morning meeting presented by Jomboy Media. Building Jomboy Media, I think, is actually what the title is. I am Matty, and I'm obviously here with Courtney. It's been a while, Courtney. We last did an episode together, I think it was November, and then December, January, we just got mixed. Now we're in February. It feels like it happened in a blink of an eye, but very happy to have you back.
Feels good to be back. I was kind of missing it, to be honest. I liked my little morning routine.
Yeah. I enjoy these eps because like I get to provide some energy. Normally I like to just defer to Jimmy, right?
No, I need your energy. You lift me up.
Exactly. So
I'm counting on you.
Good. Before anything else, everybody should be clicking the like button and leaving a comment so that Jimmy can answer next week. We are filming Blitzball Battle 6 starting this Thursday and going through the weekend. So any non-spoiler BB6 questions that you have, leave those for Jimmy down below. I'm sure that he will appreciate that. For this episode, we're going to talk some high-level goals that Jomboy Media has set up. We will talk about what I call the extracurricular events that we've taken, Courtney's specifically taken place in the last 2 weeks, answering some questions for you and leaving on the power of positive feedback. Ready, Court?
I'm ready.
Cool. So Jimmy touched on this in our last ep, I believe, or maybe 2 eps ago, but wanted to get your thoughts, your position more on the business side of the house. Jomboy Media's 2025 goals are to grow our flagship properties, brands, while also developing the next brands in line, right? What we're calling our breakout brands. Can you just speak to how we came to that conclusion, where those words are coming from, and why we view this as important?
Yeah. So I think it's really important to have simple company goals. That's one thing I implemented last year, and it really worked. Last year, our goals were to grow our community while maintaining the close connection, and then growing revenue while becoming a profitable company. And we accomplished all of those goals, which was amazing. I think we grew community by like 30%. We grew revenue by 44%, and we turned the company around from unprofitable to profitable by like a really healthy increase. But one of the things that we noticed last year is that as we were doing more and more content and bringing people on and starting new shows, that the impact of going really wide and having, going from like 20 to like 40 shows didn't have the same effect as focusing all of our attention on making the big brands even bigger.
Right.
So we were like spreading ourselves too thin. We were still doing like just as much work and effort, but it wasn't showing the results that we wanted. So that's why the focus this year is like grow our flagship brands and really think through how are we going to resource that, staff that, what's the strategy there, and even like what are our flagship brands. So we define them. We have 5 flagship brands, I think. Yep. So it's Warehouse Games, Talking Baseball, Talking Yanks, We Got Ice, and then Jimmy's Breakdowns to us. It's like its own brand. And thinking about like making sure that we have dedicated resources to grow them. And then we really feel once we grow our flagship, if we grow our flagship brands, that is going to have a positive halo ripple effect on all the other brands and everything else that we do.
For sure. I think the other thing that we've talked about internally is that converting a developing brand to flagship, it has meaning, right? It's meaningful. So it's not like an easy process. So it's like a stretch goal of ours for this year. Like we really want to push and try to get to 6 flagship brands by 2026.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We have like brands that are, did we wind up with on deck? Like on deck,
yeah.
we coined the term of like, these have a lot of potential, have a lot of momentum, and like these could be flagship brands very soon.
Yes.
And then keeping like business in mind, like I'm responsible for the numbers. I have to deliver the revenue and the profit at the end of the year. So The second goal, grow revenue while strengthening our profitability so we can just be a healthy business, have high margins, like be able to invest and innovate and give back to our employees. That's really important to me. So I just want to keep like the actual numbers top of mind. And then I think what's not on this goals, which is a very big goal of mine and Jimmy's, is to have more fun, try new things, be more spontaneous, be more reactive. And I think that's where like developing the breakout brands, we want that to be like a really, really long list. And there's just more freedom for creativity. For
sure. And that also leads into our Q1 goals specifically, right? A lot of these goals have that let's keep it fun, let's keep it light type of mentality to them, while there is the goals that also are like, hey, let's grow the flagship too. Are there specific goals here that speak out to you the most?
So of the company goals?
Yeah, the Q1 goals.
So every quarter, I get my leadership team together and we define what is our top priorities for each quarter. And we came up with, I think there's like 7. A couple of them are on warehouse games. So we really are focusing on bringing in new warehouse game sponsors. We're focused on full year presenting sponsors that we can really integrate them into everything we do. We want to get a warehouse games licensing deal. So like it was on Bally Sports Network, now FanDuel Sports Network. We want to see this on linear again because the content performed really well on linear and it helped us tap into a new audience. So that's warehouse specifically. And then the other one, warehouse, is launch that new Challenger YouTube channel. Can we talk about that on here?
Yep. That's
yeah. So we have 3 warehouse related goals, which is a big priority for us.
Yeah, it's flagship.
Yep. It's flagship.
I do think that we might have leaked warehouse challenges on this channel before. Yeah. I think Jimmy and I were just talking about it and we were like, I don't know if people know that. And I don't think they did, but it's okay. People know that there's more warehouse content coming.
Yep. And then the other goals are also around our flagship brands, Talking Baseball, Talking Yanks, turning those into bigger brands by creating supportive like merch line and rolling out more products and creating a bigger, more content that can go underneath those umbrellas. Have you talked about that here?
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about that much, but this is something that not only had you seen at the recent conference that you went to, which we'll dive into that too, but a lot of channels do this, right? And it's good to just build that full brand where it's one thing to have a podcast sit at the top, but there should be some other supplemental content pieces that live with underneath that, to be honest, aren't tied to the podcast at all. Now, some YouTube channels I see like podcast and then it's like 15-minute segments from that podcast as their supplemental. Yeah. I don't think that that's a strategy that we love. I feel like it just takes away from the podcast, like viewership from the podcast. But yeah, like a Talking Yanks, figuring out how to provide other types of content that are shorter than a full podcast on that YouTube channel. And that just helps reach more eyeballs that I only watch 20-minute YouTube videos, not 60 minutes.
Yeah, pull everyone into like that core episode.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Obviously, my world here is a lot tied to that last one compared to something like merch, but I'm very excited for that and just figuring out the supplemental pieces for all of our shows.
Play a pivotal role in that.
Love that. I mentioned the conference that you attended, NATPE.
NATPE, you got it right.
I got it. I did not want to forget that in the 10 minutes since we spoke about it. You went to the NATPE conference. For those that don't know,
National Association Television Programming Executives.
Hell yeah.
I looked it up right before this podcast. I knew it was like TV. It's like TV buyers. They're looking to network and acquire content. So it was a lot of like production companies that make content.
Right.
And then TV networks that are looking to acquire that content.
Gotcha. I think that one of your takeaways, a lot of this was very validating. Like we are applying a lot of the things that they spoke to. And there was, like you said, a lot of these big media companies
Yeah.
where they're like teaching them and we're like, hey, we got that.
Yeah.
But what were some of your takeaways from the event?
Yeah, it was interesting. I saw YouTube gave a presentation and they were teaching TV networks how to program a YouTube channel, which was just like kind of like,
Yes.
like was a mind flip, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, like we have this skill. We've
Right.
learned and applied this skill for 3 years and evolved it and optimized it.
Right.
And this is the first time they're like, wait, what? We're going to put our content on YouTube, you
Yeah.
know? But like Matty said, it was really validating because they showed this diagram of how to program content, like 1 to 2 pieces of long form content a week. And then it was like daily content, posting it like minimum of 5 to 7 times a week. That was
Right.
more like vlog-like style content. And then always on shorts, which is more like a community based on community interest. And like that approach was cool to see that, oh, this is the strategy we're rolling out. And this is also what YouTube is sharing themselves about how to program
Right.
their channels.
Yep.
And then I was really inspired by the head of content at Roku spoke. And it was, well, first I felt a little bit out of my element in the conference because there was not a lot of creator companies there. It was mostly like production companies or studios that were pitching their content.
Right.
So the head of content at Roku spoke. He talked about the power of creators, and he really framed it as digital native content. We don't really say that term.
Sure.
So like we
DNCs.
were born on the internet, right? And like that's where we distribute and produce our content.
Right.
But he was saying that, look, creators are the next big programmers. And old school TV and Hollywood, they better wake up to this.
Yep.
And he related it back to reality TV when reality TV was kind of looked down upon and poo-pooed. It wasn't like the bougie,
Sure.
you know, like
Yeah.
old world way of doing something.
Yeah.
And then reality TV like took over and was like this tidal wave across the industry. And he was saying that is going to be the next, like creators are going to be that next tidal wave.
Yep.
So there's a encouraging creators and the distributors, like the networks, whether you're a streaming service like Roku or linear channel like ESPN, to get innovative, be flexible, and figure out how to work together.
Yep. And I think that this is all, like we said, this is validating, right? This is kind of stuff that we've had on our radar a little bit. I mean, the fact that creators are taking over television, like we knew that YouTube passed all of the streaming platforms as the most watched app on TVs. So like, and I'm not talking YouTube TV, literal YouTube is more watched on a television than Netflix and Hulu and all Disney Plus, like the big players in the space. So I feel like we knew like, yeah, the creators, like that's what people want to watch. And obviously it's a massive example, but Mr. Beast doing his show, like people are more likely to click on his face just for familiarity's sake than you would on some other random reality show that's on Peacock, right? So
yeah, it was
it
interesting.
makes sense.
Did you listen? I'm going off topic here. Did you listen to the Colin and Samir, Mr. Beast?
See, they always drop them and they're so long that I'm like, oh, I need to listen. I need to listen.
Put it on. It's really interesting. Mr. Beast talks less about like algorithm thumbnails,
Right.
And more about building a business around creators. Around building a business, a creator business, and then like what decisions that he made, like do I create a product line? And then he talks about the Amazon deal, and it was interesting to hear him say that he had more freedom in his storytelling on Amazon because it's a linear streaming service. Like consumers' mindsets are different because they're in a more lean back environment. When you put on a television show, you have like 3 minutes. Like people are going to give it 3 minutes to figure out, do I want to watch this? Where on YouTube, you're giving it like 3 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they compared the beginning of one of his last series on YouTube that he did like a year ago. I don't know. I'm not botching this. And then the first 5 minutes of his new show on Amazon, and it is drastically different.
Right.
Like it's so much less editing and cuts and like the speed of it. And But it's cool to see that he's tweaking his content
Yes.
based on the platform.
I agree. I think that's funny that you say that, because I had talked to Jimmy about Beast Games when it first started, and he was like, oh, I tried it, but it was too fast for me. And it's just funny that, okay, well, if you go to Mr. Beast's YouTube channel, like that's even faster.
Yeah, no,
right?
this was the slow-mo version. Jimmy watched the slow-mo version.
That's funny. Before we move on, you had posted a reel from the NATPE conference talking about getting over social anxiety while at these conferences. Can you give me the elevator pitch of that reel?
Yeah.
But that's even funny to say. That's like Mr. Beast, where we're saying it's like the slow-mo version.
Yeah.
An elevator pitch of a reel is like, a reel's a minute
It
long.
worked for me. It worked. So I have been going to conferences my whole career, my background in sales. And sometimes, people are like, well, you're in sales. You love networking. You're good at it. You enjoy talking to people. And I just wanted to be vulnerable and share like, no, that's not really the truth. I don't enjoy networking.
Right.
This is something I have to do for my job. And I have social anxiety just like many people do, but I have practiced it and gave myself tools to get over it.
Yes.
So when I go to these conferences, like, and I'm in my hotel room and I'm like, you know what? Like, oh, work is calling my name. I really have to work and answer my Slacks. And like, no, that is just me like trying to like get out of going to the conference. Right. And like, I have social anxiety like everyone else. So I came up with this like 3x3 method, and I give myself 3 very attainable goals and 3 deliverables to walk away with from each of those goals. And these could be anything. Like mine specifically were like meet with 3 networks that are interested in licensing content like ours. Learn 3 new ways to frame or pitch or package our content using, industry standard terms or like what people find appealing in this space. And then walk away with 3 next steps that I could do on the plane, whether that's sharing a learning back with the team or emailing someone about getting the next follow-up meeting on the books. But I think the point of it really is give yourself attainable goals that are not overwhelming to get out of the hotel room and start going to have conversations with people and engaging in the conference, because these things are really paralyzing. Yes. You get there, there's a million people, you don't know anyone. And it's hard to like throw yourself in.
It's funny that you say like, oh, you're in sales. People assume that you like this stuff. Mm-hmm. I had a recent convo with my fiance, Emily. She said, she was like, you should eat more vegetables. I said, okay, fine. Agree. At large, sure. And she said like, like, I don't like eating them. And to be honest, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But I also assume that everybody else kind of like these things, right?
Yeah.
But no, actually nobody does. It's just, and that was kind of eye-opening, because it was like, okay, I thought that she liked these more than me, and that's no.
She is putting herself in the uncomfortable short term for the long term.
Yeah. Damn it. I thought I had an out. I thought I had a Slack to respond to and got out of it, but no. The other cool extracurricular that we've done recently was the Level Up workshop. Can you speak to this and just what the experience was like that day?
Yeah. So Grace McCarrick, she is has a big following on TikTok and on LinkedIn, and she does these soft skills workshops where she teaches. It really could be anyone. I think her focus was on Gen Z at one point, but the workshop really was geared, I think, to anyone that wants to get ahead in their career and learn about what soft skills they need to develop to get ahead. And it was a 4-hour workshop. As a leader, I really want to invest in my employees and give them new skills. And I'm also really nervous to do things like this because I'm asking someone to give up 4 hours of their workday. Like I kind of had like knots in my stomach like the week. I was like, if this sucks, everyone's just going to look at me and be like, really, Courtney? Like this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, and 25 people signed up. So I made it, you had to self-select because I really wanted the people that were there to be engaged. Mm-hmm. And I thought it went really well. We learned about just kind of debunk some myths that the internet has taught us about work. And she started the session with this video. It was like a 2-minute video. Did you hear about this video at all? So it was basically a compilation of reels. And she set the scene and she was like, okay, imagine if you've never worked in an office before, ever. You've never had a real job. You're on social media. You're on TikTok. And these are the reels that you see. And it was just reels of people going, your corporate job is out to get you. You're underpaid. Like, here's how to quiet quit. Here's how to fake your PTO. Here's how to work 2 jobs at the same time. Like, why are you even working for a corporation? Why don't you just go make a course and make $100,000 a month? So she's like, just imagine if that's what you consumed and you never had a job before. Yeah. Imagine how you would be going into the workforce. Like, all my guards would be up.
Oh, for sure.
I would be like, protect myself at all costs. These people are just trying to get over on me. So I think that even just helped me realize what kind of mindset new employees can be in if they are consuming all of this work content on TikTok.
Wow. Yeah, that's eye-opening.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been there. I was stuck on a train. And if anybody here had a call with me that day, it was very clear I was stuck on a train. I think Chris Rose said it looked like I was in prison.
I was sad Matty wasn't there. We did a lot of like tactical, and I walked away from that day on a high because I saw that I have the best team who is so engaging, so supportive of each other, cheering each other on. We did like vulnerable things where you have to like get up there in front of everyone, and everyone made everyone feel so comfortable and supportive. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for like my position and the team I have. And then Grace reported back on the stats, and she said it was 89% of people that went to the workshop felt like they had more agency over their career than they did before they went to the workshop.
Oh, that's good.
That was cool.
Cool. I want to jump in. We don't have too long to go, so I want to jump into the questions that everybody asked. Make sure to leave any down below for Courtney the next time she is on, or Jimmy next week. Starting, we're going to take a jump back because we're obviously filming BB6, but looking back on BB5, somebody asked the last time you were on, how did you feel like the ad blitz worked? Was it worth the money? And they're referring to, we had talked about promoting and marketing BB5 differently, right? The poster behind you, that's a new strategy.
Yep.
Physical mailer stuff. So how do you feel like it worked? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I think it was really worth it to come together as a team and put our minds together and come up with new ideas. We tested a bunch of different things. I think some were like, nah, and some were like, oh, there's traction here. We really like the posters.
Yeah, that's cool.
We didn't do a lot of them because it's actually hard to execute.
Yeah.
But the few that we did do, we saw on social media, and like there was conversation around it, and that was really fun. We did like a direct mail campaign, which we're like, I don't know if we would do that again. Just it doesn't get to that many people. There's not much digital conversation around it. We wrapped our van. I thought that was fun. We got social content out of that, and now that's like an evergreen thing. And then we got good PR from it. Jimmy did like a whole radio tour, which was awesome. And we got a lot of articles about it. So I would say, yes, overall, some things were not as successful as others.
Yeah, and that's the nature of it. I'm always curious because Emily and I throw those mailers right into the trash in the like mail room before they come up. I wonder if I'd get one that's like about sports. If I'd be like, hey, pause. Like, don't throw that out. I don't know.
I'll test it on you.
Yeah, please send me them. Colby asked, where do you go to apply for any positions that Jomboy Media is filling?
Colby, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place to check out.
Yeah. It's like on the Jomboy Media page, there's a tab called like job openings or jobs, something like that. The last question here came from Andrew, and this is more recent than the last time you were on. Andrew asked, has Jomboy addressed Compound leaving their podcast network? Curious if there was a reason for the show leaving.
I don't think we've addressed this yet. So Ian the compound, why are they leaving? They are leaving to go with another network, a local Chicago radio station.
Yeah, radio.
Yeah. And I think it just really makes sense. They're a, local Chicago podcast supporting the team. It was a great partnership for us. We had 2 years of them, 3 years, maybe 4. Wow.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Almost 4. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it just makes sense for both sides. We also, with our new strategy, at one point we thought when the compound first came on, do we repeat this local model, right? So that's when we had Talking Yanks, and then you see Talking Giants, and then we brought on the compound. Yep. And we've decided that it's a better use of our time to focus on growing our flagship brands and then hiring creators that fit into our universe and have more of a national presence. So it just kind of naturally worked out that, it was time to end things. But he's still a huge fan and an investor, and I think he'll still be seen on a lot of our shows. So still part of the fam.
It's funny that you said you're referencing like doing shows for individual teams, because people ask that in the comments, and that's one that Jimmy's answered over the years a few times. So I always don't have people I don't put that in. Yeah. I know that Jimmy has answered it just so many. And,
so many times. Yeah.
There are other companies that do it where it's like Talking Giants, Talking Brewers. I think one of Jimmy's big content point of views there was like, it's so hard to control the voice, right? When we have like a few here and there, and it's all creator driven, we're not going and seeking out a Mets fan, but we seek out Jolly. We like him as a creator. And then, it's awesome for him to have a Mets outlet too.
Yeah. Wait, so did you hear we are selling like more Mets merch right now than any other merch?
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was like, I have to tell Matty this.
I think one of my proudest moments is I pitched that Sean Manaea, he has like the rally hat on from when they came back against the Brewers. I sent that into our design idea dump Slack. I was like, don't edit this at all. Just put this image on a square on a shirt. Yeah. And it still gets always promoted whenever Shea Station like promotes merch. Yeah. So I think it sells well. I love
that.
And
it probably does.
It was no time. Just
like crazy. We're a Mets company now.
We really are.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave with the power of positive feedback. Feels like it's a nice little wholesome way to leave the episode. Yeah. You posted a reel. If you don't follow Courtney on Instagram, you're missing out.
Courtney _ Hirsch.
That's right. So go follow that. But to give people a little preview, a sneak peek, can you speak to your thoughts here?
So feedback in general, like I've been working on it a lot, and I've found that giving positive feedback is probably more effective than negative or constructive feedback. And I thought of an example that my mentor gave me, and I wanted to share. I have this like such a badass mentor. He used to be the CFO of like a flagship like brand. And I had my first mentorship meeting. This was when I first took over as COO like 2 years ago. And the company was like not really in a healthy place, like numbers wise. And I was out in California for work. I had this call. I was driving on the highway. I remember like pulling over into a Starbucks parking lot like 20 minutes early, making sure my internet was set up, getting like the laptop. But the first thing he did when he came onto the Zoom, and I was on the Zoom like 5 minutes early, he came on 1 minute early, and he was just like, thank you so much for being on time. That really means a lot to me that you're on time. And like all he did was compliment me for 1 second.
Right.
And like I knew in the back of my head, you better never, ever be 5 seconds late for this man. Yeah. So it's just like, it was a good reminder for me that you could just compliment a positive behavior and like that reinforces that behavior and sticks with someone.
Yes. And like if you were to give negative feedback or constructive criticism, like it might have the same effect, but if you're getting the same result, right?
Yes.
And why not just
be positive about it? Yeah.
Exactly. That makes sense.
I love that. I was like, oh, I got to like take this to my team and like make sure I'm like calling out good behaviors, even if they're small.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, Matty. Thanks for hosting.
I've been holding this deck of cards the whole time.
Are you going to do a magic trick?
Do you know any?
No.
I do.
Oh, God.
Do you want me to do it? If anybody at home knows how to do this magic trick. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Pick one of these cards.
Oh, we're doing it.
Yeah. We'll do it. It takes 2 minutes. Less.
Okay.
All right.
I tell you?
Show the audience, I guess, and show yourself. Got it?
Got it.
All right. Now put it back on the top. All right. I'm going to shuffle these behind my back.
It's a live magic show.
All right. If you know how to do this one, comment below. I bet nobody will know how. All right. Ready? This is complete shuffle behind my back. Is this your card?
No.
Really? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. The first time I do it on live, whatever, it's not your card. Are you kidding me?
No.
Is this your card?
No.
Seriously? I don't know why.
You gotta cut this out, Rob.
Rob, cut this out. Cut this out.